in the real world, we don't make commitments easily or quickly. We take time. But in hiring, we do it all the time. We make decisions fairly quickly. We prioritize volume over scarcity. And that mismatch, I think, explains more failure than most hiring tools ever will. Hi, my name is Michael Campbell. This is the Work Ready Show. This show questions what work ready really means. I myself, I've spent almost more than 2 decades rather, hiring people, leading teams, and being accountable for outcomes inside large global tech organizations, both domestically and internationally. And here's the hard truth. Hiring fails because it asks for commitment before evidence. And this is not how the real world works. In real life, commitment follows exposure. We watch, we observe patterns, we wait for signals that persist over time. But in hiring, it's the reverse. We commit first and then we watch later. We provide those offer letters before actually seeing real work. And that's not the right way in the real world, right? Trust is earned, respect is given, but we don't trust right away in the real world. But yet, when it comes to hiring, we trust fairly quickly. And then we are surprised after the work starts. Again, this is not a talent problem. This is a commitment design problem. So think about it. Think about all the commitments that we make every single day or during the course of a year. A commitment on your house, a commitment for your car, a commitment for your spouse. In my own life, it took about 3 years before my wife said yes. Of course, there were some other things going on there. We were living overseas, but she took some time. Of course, I was test driving as well, but we were learning about each other, our families, our values, how we handle conflict, how we handle different types of life situations. And you need time to be able to have a good sense of that person. And that logic, unfortunately, is missing, of course, in our hiring system. I'm not saying that you should take a year to test someone or to assess whether or not that person fits, but there's got to be a better way to augment our current systems, and that's what I'm trying to uncover in these conversations. Commitment comes after repeated interaction with varied conditions. That's what happens in the real world. But in hiring, commitment comes after controlled conversations under ideal conditions. We would never call that knowing someone in any other context, but we call it confidence in hiring. Think about this other real world scenario, investing or investors who are investing in startups. They're not going to invest in an organization without really having those sit down conversations with the founder or founders. They want to know who they're working with, who they're dealing with, what they think, how they think, their balance sheet, their team. Are they supported by their team? What is their vision? What's their mission? What's their North Star? All those things they have to thoroughly understand before they make that bet and make that investment. And that, of course, takes time. And they're going to want to have evidence before they write that check. Another reminder here that hiring is not the real world, because we don't do that in hiring. Another example, of course, is decision authority. It's something that is earned. People demonstrate judgment before they're trusted with impact. But authority is granted on day one when it comes to hiring. we assume that when someone gets that job offer and they've delivered a quality interview or interviews, and you've got alignment and agreement from that interview panel, that once that person joins and onboards, that he or she is going to hit the ground running. You assume that they will be ready, and that's not always the case. It's something that might happen later on where you'll find out that this person interviewed so well, but they're missing certain skills. How did that happen? Well, it's because you made that decision with little information, and that's what I call a signal gap. And that's the difference between what you know and what you see versus your perception of that person from a capability perspective. And here's the thing, hiring doesn't fail because we choose the wrong people. It fails because we commit too early. This explains patterns we usually blame on individuals. Why strong interviewees struggle once work starts, and why that culture fit gets questioned only after friction appears, and why ramp time reveals more than the hiring process ever did. The information, it wasn't missing, it was simply just unavailable during the hiring process or at that time of commitment. And you can have multiple interviews. It's not going to fix it because you're dealing with perception, you're not dealing with actual tangible evidence. And the real world separates exposure from commitment. You don't get full trust immediately. You earn it through visible behavior. I was talking to my daughter recently, and we were talking about the difference between trust and respect. Trust is something that you don't give. You're not going to get in the car with just a random person. You're not going to have a play date with just anyone. You're not going to have Sunday dinner with anyone, because it all depends on trust. Now, respect, which is something that I'm sure many of you have heard from your parents, that respect is given, trust is earned. There is a clear delineation between the two. Respect for being a human being is something that we all deserve, and so we're having that conversation. So I want to say this, that if you are someone who is hiring, just ask yourself this: where are we asking for commitment before we have evidence? And if you are a leader, a manager, ask this: where do we confuse credentials or degrees, badges? Where do we confuse those credentials with readiness? And if you're someone that's designing systems, and that's something that I personally am working on, I ask myself this question: is what would hiring look like if it followed the same commitment logic as in the real world? This is the gap that we're trying to name clearly, and not how to screen better, not how to use ATS systems better, but how can we see enough real behavior before decisions by the hiring manager and stakeholders are made. And once you understand that, then I think that shift of transformational change can happen for the benefit of both the organization and the individual. And every serious domain, commitment, no matter what the case might be, follows proof, follows evidence. But right now, of course, unfortunately, hiring is not that case. Hiring is not the real world, and treating it like it is creates avoidable risk. Thank you. Next time, I'd love to talk more with you about what does the word job ready means today, and why preparation is being misunderstood on all sides. This is the Work Ready Show. Thank you for joining. Until next time.